You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. Friday, January 16th, TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. The work week is nearly over. We got a great show lined up for you, but already Friday causing some issues. If you're watching us on YouTube, that's awesome. That's great. Welcome. I know you can see us, which is a good thing. YouTube has been very good to us, so make sure you're subscribing, all of those kind of things. Tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing each and every day here in the Quad Cities. Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Make sure you partake in our live chat. The chat has been extremely busy. We've got a lot to get to today. This is normally the part of the show where I say we're also live on X, and X has been very good to us, but X has not been very good to us. X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, currently down nationwide is what I've just been researching as I got ready for the show. So no show right now up on X. We're going to keep an eye on it, and once we see that it's back going again, we'll be back there. But usually X is very, very good to us. We're also available on all your podcasting platforms as well. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart, wherever you get podcasts. Go ahead and put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you should find us. And if you're going to watch this show, that's great. Listen to, but also the shows in the past as well. This week alone, Tom Kakert, John Bonenkamp, Jim Mattson, Casey Kreider, Angelo Jackson, Kyle Huesmann, not once but twice, because he's coming up here in a second. Nicholas Baer, James Zahara, Scott Docterman, all just to name a few. Jake Brend. That's not all of them. So it's been a really fun week here on the show. Very busy week on the show. Take some time today maybe and go back and check out some of the other shows this week as well. As for our show today, as I mentioned, what's better than Kyle Huesmann once? Kyle Huesmann twice, and for very good reason, because the Iowa women's basketball team with an impressive victory last night at Carver Hawkeye Arena. It was a later game, an 8 p.m. tip, and it was the coming out party for Addie Deal. So we'll talk with Kyle Huesmann about that in a matter of moments. Also coming up a little bit later on here in hour number 1, Vincent Johnson is a media member out of Chicago. He's worked for the Chicago Tribune, great photographer. He recently published a book out in October called Illustrious, and it's a account of the best gyms in Illinois. The Western Big Six, very well represented. In fact, if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't, shame on you, you should have. Wharton Fieldhouse is on the cover of the book. Vincent's going to be at Wharton Fieldhouse tonight, selling books, signing books, all those kind of things. Really, if you're a high school basketball fan in the state of Illinois, you should have this book. We're going to talk to him about it, how he came up with the idea, how well the Western Big Six is represented, because only 2 of the 8 schools aren't in the book. And he had to narrow it down from, I think, almost 1,000 schools to, I think he said there's 120. We'll check it out. We'll figure it all out, but really a cool book. So we're going to talk with him coming up later in hour number 1. And then later in hour number 2, probably late hour number 1, Reunited, and It Feels So Good. Myself and Kory Kuffler are joining forces once again to chat today on the show. Obviously, it's not the first time we've chatted since I left WQED. Kory's a dear friend, but this is the first time he's been on OTA. So we'll get you set for a big night of high school basketball, and then just reminisce a little bit as well as we catch up with my doppelganger, and my good friend Kory Kuffler. That's coming up as well. And then last but not least, we're going to go back to the Hawkeye Report for all these hard workers at the Hawkeye Report. And that does not include Tom Kakert. But Tanner Lafever will join us because it's number 4 Iowa hosting number 1 Penn State in wrestling tonight. And it should be a interesting night at Carver Hawkeye. Everything that's going on with the Iowa wrestling program and the dismissals but the departure probably is the best way to put it. We'll get Tanner's thoughts on everything coming up in hour number 2 as well. So a lot to get to here on the show today. Some news and notes. We mentioned Iowa winning last night, 74-66, the final score. Addie Deal with 18 points, 7 of 9 from the field, 4 of 4 from 3. So extremely efficient. Hannah Solke had a good game as well. Kylie Feuerbach played well. Iowa gets the victory to get to 6-0 in conference play. Also last night in the Big Ten, it was Michigan beating Illinois in a battle of ranked teams, number 8 versus number 25. Michigan wins that one. 85-69 the final in that one. But we're going to start with the Hawkeyes and the undefeated in Big Ten play Iowa Hawkeyes, as Kyle Huesmann joins me right now and Off There with Matt Randazzo. Thank you for getting up, because you had to be at Carver Hawkeye still pretty late last night.
Yeah, I think I got home a little past midnight, like 12:10, something like that, and then had a couple more things to do. So I think it was around a 1 a.m. Bedtime last night. So I'm not a big fan of the 8 p.m. tip-offs. I think I said this to you maybe, that I thought they should have just played it in Oregon if they were going to tip off 8 o'clock, because then I get to sit at home and watch it. But yeah, I mean, a good win for Iowa to get to 6-0 in Big Ten play.
The headline of this one has to be Addie Deal, and she was a decorated freshman coming in. Everyone had huge and high expectations, probably unrealistic for most people, and maybe unfair expectations coming in. And she's not been bad, but she hasn't flashed yet with the Iowa Hawkeyes until last night. And she goes for 18 points, 7 of 9 shooting, 4 of 4 from the field. She looked as comfortable as I've seen her all season. Is last night the Oregon game when we're going to look back and talk about the Addie Deal show and the Addie Deal coming out party?
Yeah, it certainly could be, and I think that's certainly what the coaching staff and the players and the fan base are hoping for. I think you're right. I think you go back to the preseason, and obviously Addie Deal committed well before she got to campus, so I think that kind of accelerated some of the excitement. As you know, it was obviously a big recruiting lane, but then you had to wait however many months. I mean, over a year for her to get to campus. So obviously, it kind of built up over time, and there was a lot of talk about her arrival. And I think you're right. Some of the expectations were probably unfair, and I think we're part of that. I mean, we talked her up in the preseason. I thought she could potentially be a starter. But, you know, everybody kind of looks at recruiting rankings and they say, you know, generally these high 4 stars and 5 stars are going to, come in and contribute right away. But sometimes they don't, right? They come in and there's a little bit of an adjustment period, you know, especially in the Big Ten. You know, it's a different conference, or it's one of the better conferences, if not the best conference. It's faster conference. It's more physical. It's just different from high school basketball, even though Addie Deal played in California and at Mater Dei, which is a great high school for women's basketball and basketball in general. But it's taken some time for her to adjust, and we saw it last year with Ava Heighton. I mean, she didn't really get the minutes that some expected, and obviously moving Hannah Stolke back to the 5 last year cut her minutes even more. But she came on strong in the postseason play, and we've seen what that's turned into this year. Those adjustment periods just are different amounts of time. You know, there's certain players that it takes like a month, or sometimes it takes until the Christmas break. And you never know with certain players. And I think Lisa Bluter always talked about it. There's always that moment or that stretch where maybe in practice they start to get going, or there's just a game where maybe the light bulb, flicks on and things get going. And maybe that's what Addie Deal had last night, was that light bulb flicking on moment where it's like, okay, I feel good playing in the Big Ten now. That was just kind of what I needed. And she was great. I mean, 4-4 from 3-point range, hit some big shots. As you mentioned, 7 of 9. She drove into the paint a couple times and had a couple of buckets in near the basket, which was good to see, because she'd gotten herself in trouble in a couple of games where she'd drive in and kind of get stuck there and turn it over. But looked more comfortable last night with it. But yeah, 18 points, finished with 3 rebounds, had an assist, only 1 turnover in just over 20 minutes, which is great for her. I think, going forward, if they can, again, she's not going to put up 18 points a game going forward, but if she can consistently shoot the 3 and get to the point where she can drive into the lane and maybe score or kick out for a shot or something like that without turning it over, I think that's a huge boost to this team, because there's going to be games where maybe she needs to play 20 minutes, but there's still going to be games where maybe she plays 8 to 10 minutes, but they need her to come in and be effective in those games. And I think that kind of goes back to what we talked about the other day. The ceiling of this team, we haven't really seen them get near it, and there's a lot of little pieces that need to improve or get more consistent. And if she can improve and be closer to what she was last night rather than what we've seen from her in other games this season, that improves the ceiling of this team.
Absolutely. Kyle Huesmann joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Kyle, you look at it, and it was great to see her play the way she did. And you look at just the team in general, they seem healthy again. And I think Coach Jensen kind of talked about that last night. Like, they played better. The offense looked smoother, but they've been through so many different little injuries of people in and out of the lineup, and it looked more complete last night. Kind of talk about that, because I think this is the team we maybe expected. And yes, they're 6-0. They've been winning games, all of those kind of things, but I think that was the team people maybe expected at this point. It helps to have healthy players, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you look back at specifically at these last 3 games, the Northwestern game, Indiana, and then Oregon. Yeah, they went 3-0, which was great. But you look at the performances, and Oregon is certainly miles better than the Northwestern game and miles better than the Indiana game. Even though the record is the same, win, the Oregon game makes you feel a lot better than the other 2 did. And yeah, I think, and we've talked about this, there's been a lot of moving parts so far this season with Chit Chat, missing a few games and then, checking out early of a couple of games. And that moved Taylor Stremlow into a new role. She had to start some games, and she was good in that role. But again, it's just moving pieces. Kylie Feuerbach misses a couple of games, really missed 3 games, and then missed the majority of that UConn game. The Emily Rodriguez thing at times, I mean, she had a role early in the season, and then once you take somebody out, and obviously she's been out for a long time, but players have to fill those minutes and grow into a new role that maybe they didn't feel like they were going to be in with an Emily Rodriguez getting minutes, and Ava Heiden's had her moments with foul trouble. And again, that's more of a controllable. The foul trouble is more controllable than an injury, but still, there's been games where Ava Heiden's been playing less than 20 minutes, and that forces other people in the lineup in different roles. And last night, and Jan mentioned it kind of with the guards as well, with Chit Chat being injured and Kylie being injured, they haven't really had many games where the full guard lineup has been available. And that means you can say, okay, here's where I want to put this person for this many minutes and this, this spot in the game. And when you have players that are maybe not at 100% or out of games, those rotations and when you put in certain players changes. So I think to have this full team together, and again, Ava Heiden played 26 minutes last night, and Hannah Stokey played 30 minutes. You had your full team there. They were all 100%. They were all able to stay out of foul trouble, and that allowed them to play and play the game that they wanted to play in terms of rotations, in terms of who plays this amount of minutes, things like that, certain situations that you want to put players in. Again, going forward, it's you don't know. Is someone else going to get injured? Is someone else going to have a stretch where they struggle with foul trouble? You don't know. But last night was as close as we've seen to this season to being able to play the game exactly how they want to play it for 40 minutes. And if they can be consistent, again, I keep saying the word consistent. If they can be consistent going forward and have the ability to play players in the situations that they want, I think you're going to see a lot of performances like last night.
Does consistency start with Hannah Stokey? Because when she plays well, she plays really well. And she's been good this season. She hasn't been great. And there's been drop-offs or times where it didn't look right. Last night's Hannah Stokey, what was it? I think 18 points, 8 rebounds. That's the thing. You got to see that on a consistent basis, don't you?
Yeah, I think you even she had that stretch of, I think it was 4 games, Lindenwood, UConn, Penn State, and then she was really good against Nebraska. That 4-game stretch was kind of the stretch where we thought, okay, Hannah's starting to put it together a little bit. And then Northwestern was 2 of 11. And then the first half against Indiana, I want to say she was 1 of 3 or 0 of 2 or something. So that 6-quarter stretch was, okay, it's dropped off again. Was really good in the second half against Indiana. And you said she's been good, not great. She was great last night. 18 points, 8 rebounds, had 8 assists. I mean, she was out there flirting with a triple-double, which is something that I would have never expected from her. And certainly some of that was the matchup. They really liked the high-low matchup they had last night, and Hannah did a great job of reading the situation she was in to maybe dump off to Ava Heiden for some baskets. But I thought she was tremendous last night. 4 of 9 at the free throw line. She probably would have rather been 6 of 9 or 7 of 9. But I mean, 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. She's not going to do that every night. But again, it's how can the coaching staff get her closer to last night rather than what we saw against Northwestern? And if she can just consistently put together performances where she's, scoring in double figures, she's getting close to a double-double with rebounds. And again, the assists, you don't need 8 a night, but if she can be that player that can make the right reads and kick out to players, maybe get it to Ava for some baskets. I mean, 31 minutes last night, and that stat line is pretty good. 7 of 12 from the floor is pretty efficient as well. And the thing that we saw last night, she made a couple of mid-range jump shots, right around the free throw line, hit a couple of those. Again, it's way too early to say that maybe that's something that she can come around with here for the second half of the season. But similar to like an Addie Deal thing where you're like, last night was really good with Addie Deal. If she can be like that going forward, it's a huge step for this team. If Hannah Stokey all of a sudden is able to hit a few of those mid-range jump shots, she doesn't have to make 5 of them every night. She doesn't have to become Addie O'Grady, what she was last year. But if Hannah can make that shot on a semi-consistent basis, it's going to make teams have to guard her out closer to the three-point line. Now, she's not, I think we're past probably the three-point shooting for her. But if she can make some of those mid-range jump shots, it's going to make teams come out on her a little bit. That'll open up Ava Heiden a little bit in the paint. So I thought Hannah was great last night, but it's just a matter of getting that consistency and putting together on a nightly basis and not having that 2 of 11 night against the Northwestern where you also shoot it poorly at the free throw line, something like that. But I thought she was great last night.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us right now. Good news. Twitter or X is back up and moving. So we're back up on X, which is something you're back up on as well. We only were out for like 15 minutes. You were grounded for a little while. Good to be back on the X platform, if you will.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's weird not having it because you don't realize how much you use. I mean, obviously we run everything through our website, but you don't realize how much, like, when you get into a game, you're like, man, there's people that try to stay informed on Twitter on stuff,
Me.
and obviously there's a lot of people that maybe they don't subscribe to our site, but they read some of the free stuff that I write, that all of a sudden those links aren't showing up on their timeline anymore. But yeah, I mean, a month-long fight to get it back, but finally got it going, and it's good to be back.
I say there's two national crises right now. One has been solved. You're back on X. The other's the Bears. Like, we got to that national nightmare needs to go away, but that's a different subject. Back to the Hawkeyes. It doesn't get any easier. We mentioned Michigan State when we talked earlier this week, but I think I looked at 4 of the next 5 are against ranked teams, starting with Michigan State on Sunday. Yes, 6-0, 15-2 overall. A lot to be excited about. I think Iowa's going to be really tested these next 5. Your thoughts on Michigan State, and then the stretch that Iowa's about to go on is pretty daunting.
Yeah, I think first off, you mentioned the stretch that's coming up. I think last night was a much needed performance. They could have won last night. Maybe it was similar to Indiana. Maybe it was similar to Northwestern. But I think they needed the win that they had last night in terms of feeling good about the offense, feeling good about the defense. I mean, I think last night the final score was not reflective of how that game went. I mean, they led 69 to where still 6-0 in Big Ten play, but they enter this stretch feeling like, okay, we got closer to that brand of basketball that we feel like we can play, closer to that ceiling. You had some really good performances from players that needed it last night. And now you go into this 5-game stretch, starting with Michigan State on Sunday. They beat Nebraska last night 73-71. They are now 6-1 in Big Ten play, and they're 17-1. It's their best start in program history, and this is a team that does have a national title appearance under their belt for that program. They surpassed the 2010-2011 team last night that started 16-1. So they're playing some really good basketball, and that's a huge game on Sunday at Carver. It's also a big one just in terms of the Big Ten standings, just because you look at it right now, and Iowa's up there atop the Big Ten standings at 6-0, tied with UCLA. But some of that chaos that we've talked about, Maryland's already got 2 losses. Illinois' got 3. Washington's got 3. Minnesota's got 3. Nebraska all of a sudden has 4 losses in Big Ten play. USC's got 4 losses, and Iowa's up there with 0 losses. And Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan all have 1 loss right now. So Iowa has a chance on Sunday to beat a team that's right there behind them in second place and hand them a second loss. And you start to build, you start talking about, it's really early, but you start talking about Big Ten tournament, trying to get that double bye. You start talking about the NCAA tournament and trying to host at Carver for I think it'd be the 5th time in 6 seasons that they've had, hosting capabilities. And this is a big one on Sunday at Carver. You get it at home. I think if it was at Michigan State, it'd be one of those where you'd say it's maybe a game that you lean towards Michigan State. But at home, this is a big one for Iowa to build some cushion again with Michigan State in the standings and stay atop, stay with UCLA. And I'm really excited to see how it goes, because I think Michigan State's a really good basketball team. They've got a lot of weapons on the offensive end. But we saw Iowa play better last night. We saw them shoot the 3 ball a little bit better last night. I think it's going to be a great game on Sunday.
Absolutely. Kyle, before we let you go, you mentioned that Michigan State coming up. I don't know if you probably haven't had a chance to flip and turn and do the preview and all those kind of things yet, but just going into that game, I think it's a winnable game too. And almost a game you want to see them win. And I know Michigan State's been good. They've beaten some really good teams. Your thoughts early on a prediction on what might happen on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think, you look at Michigan State and their last 4 games, they've played and really you could go back to 5 games. They play at Indiana and they beat them by 20. And we saw, obviously Iowa didn't play their best basketball, but we saw how Iowa did at Indiana. And then they've turned around since then. Their last 4, they won against Illinois, who's ranked now. They go out to the West Coast and they win at Washington by 15. They win at Oregon. They put up 85 points. And then last night they beat Nebraska back at home 73-71. So their last 4 or 5 games, they've really beat some solid teams. No, they haven't, beat like a UCLA or a Maryland or something, but they beat some really quality teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament. The thing that is really interesting about Michigan State, and I was just digging into this before I hopped on here, in non-conference play, they averaged almost 10 made threes per game, which is an absurd amount of threes. If you're averaging double-digit threes per game, that is phenomenal. Now in conference play, they're down to 5.7 made threes per game. And what I've noticed here as I'm looking through the stats is they had some players in non-conference play that came off the bench that shot it really well. I mean, there's a couple of bench players, 40%, 42%, 41%, 41%. And they've made 10 to 15 of them on the season. But the thing that has happened is in conference play, those players haven't played as many minutes. They're not necessarily the players that get in when the rotation is tightened. And some of their best three-point shooters in terms of makes don't shoot it as efficiently from three-point range. So they're only averaging 5.7 per game in Big Ten play. They were 3 of 17 last night against Nebraska. So that's one of those where, you hope that maybe the efficiency stays away for another game or two. They've got some decent three-point shooters, but they just don't have that level. They aren't 40+% three-point shooters. They're more higher volume made threes. But the thing that stands out about Michigan State is they've got they're pretty deep in terms of scoring options. Grace Van Sluten's a great forward center, whatever you want to call it. She plays the center position for Michigan State. And Kennedy Blair has been fantastic. I mean, a redshirt sophomore, barely played last season. She's averaging 15.7 rebounds and 6 assists a game in Big Ten play. Probably in the running for most improved player. I can't remember if they do that for a Big Ten award, but I would have her right there for most improved player in the Big Ten. But past it, they've got players that can, other players, the secondary players that can step up and score in any game. You got those top two players, Blair and Van Sluten, are averaging 30 points a game, but their next three players are averaging 30 points a game. So they've got this depth of options where it's not so much on the top two. They've got a 3, a 4, a 5 that can hit shots and help the team if maybe a Van Sluten or a Blair isn't hitting for a quarter or for a game. So I think that's the thing, is the depth that Michigan State has offensively. I don't know. I'm really torn, honestly. I'm just getting into the preview right now. But I like that Iowa's at home for this one. But Michigan State, like I said, 17-1. That's hard to look past. They have a win over Ole Miss in non-conference play, who's pretty good. It's one of those where we've talked about the middle of the Big Ten, the top of even the top now. I mean, outside of UCLA, you just don't know on any given night. Is Iowa due for a loss? Is Michigan State due for a loss? Someone in there is not going to. Michigan State's not going to go 17-1 in Big Ten play. Iowa's not going to go 18-0 in Big Ten play. Somebody has to lose on Sunday. I was impressed with the way that Iowa came out last night. I thought there were some really good performances. I don't know. I haven't made a decision yet. I don't know. I like Iowa being at home on Sunday. But I think it's going to be a great game. I'd be surprised if either team wins it by more than 5 or 6 points.
It should be a really good game on Sunday. Kyle will be there covering it. I do want to point out we're starting the show, and a couple people have texted / talked about on Twitter. Where's I missed the beginning of Kyle because Twitter just started when it came back. So if you missed that, there's a link to go to YouTube. People love Kyle Huesmann. Probably they love Iowa women's basketball, but they love Kyle Huesmann as well. So we're starting the show with Kyle. We're ending it with Tanner Lafever from the Hawkeye Report talking about a big meet tonight. I know Blair's killing it. I saw Dennis working his butt off. Be honest, nobody's watching. Does Kaker do anything?
I think he was out at Purdue the other day for the men's game, so he's doing some things.
Was he? Sometimes people just tweet. They're not actually. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to get into that. No, he is. I like to give him a hard time. You guys are you're such a tight knit family. I try to get Tanner to do the same, and he's a good boy too. Hey, enjoy it. Enjoy Sunday. Make sure you have maybe the Bears game on your phone during the Hawkeye game, just to keep track of all that kind of stuff. And I'm certain we'll catch up with you sometime again next week. Appreciate you, my man. Have a good weekend.
I've got one more thing. We didn't get to talk about Kylie Spearbach at all, and I feel like we have to throw her in there.
1,000%. How good was she?
She was really good last night defensively. Her was a big part of holding Katie Fisa to 4 of 16 from the floor. Just the second time this season that Fisa's been held to single digits scoring. And you go back to the second half of the Indiana game, what she was able to do to help with limiting Shea Chesky. But other than that, I mean, how about the assist to turnover part of it? Kylie Spearbach has played 51 minutes since she returned from the injury, does not have a turnover. She had 5 assists last night, no turnovers. On the season, she's up to 40.
But anyways, thank you for Kyle. Kyle was so excited to talk about Kylie, and he's exactly right. Kylie's been really, really good this season as well. We got a lot more to get to here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. We might have Kyle back. We don't, but that's okay. Thank you to Kyle for everything, and it's been a fun week with him twice on the show, and we'll talk to him again next week as well. Coming up on the show, we got some high school basketball to talk about. There's a fantastic high school basketball book in the state of Illinois called Illustrious. And it's about the gyms in the Western Big Six and the entire state of Illinois. Wharton Fieldhouse is on the cover. Vincent Johnson is his name, and he's the one who put it together. It's his brainchild. Came out in October, and it's really, really good. We're going to talk to him about that. We got Kory Kuffler coming up later in the show. We also have Tanner Lafever talking Iowa wrestling coming up tonight as well. So a lot more to get to. You're watching OTA on a very busy Friday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. Of course, we've been talking some high school basketball throughout the show today. It's another big Friday night on both sides of the river. It's a great time of year, and there's nothing better than a gym on a Friday night in January. High school basketball, one of my favorites, and the gyms we have in our area are awesome. I'm going to be at Don Morris Gym tonight watching the Pioneers, but when you go to Don Morris and you have Wharton Fieldhouse and the Panther Den and so many great venues, Rock Island's Fieldhouse to watch basketball, and you wonder, how do they rank, or where do they rank among the best in the state? And the state has great ones as well. So what's cool tonight is that at Wharton Fieldhouse, you can chat with and pick up a book that celebrates high school basketball and gyms around the entire state of Illinois. And joining me now to talk more about it is Vincent Johnson. Vincent, thank you so much for doing this. We were going to try to do it before the holidays. We're finally catching up. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, Matt, thanks a lot. And, hopefully we definitely get to bump into each other tomorrow when I'm in the Quad Cities. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you look at this too, and it's Illustrious is the name of the book. It came out in October. First, where'd you get the idea? First off, explain to people what it is first.
Well, Illustrious it's a funny story because there was a little bit of a kerfuffle about the name originally when I had an actual a publisher that was going to be doing it, and they weren't a big fan of the name. And I even remember saying my sister was like, she didn't even know what the word meant. And so illustrious means to like hold something in high esteem, or it's well respected and well known. It's, typically used for people in like their careers. But, I was looking for a name that kind of fit with, everything. And it was just like kind of one word. And if, the Illini chant, which is ILL, and then everybody spells it INI, I started looking at words that started with an ILL, and Illustrious was one of them. And it popped up, and it is about those gyms that are kind of well known and regarded in this state. And so when it comes to high school basketball, there's always been this debate about what's the best high school gym in Illinois. And, some people have a regional slant, some people have, conference slant, but few people, if any, have traveled throughout the entire state to see all the ones that people say are the best or a good gym. And so I put a lot of miles on my car over 4 years so that you guys would just have to flip a page to figure it out.
No, I love it. And where'd the idea come from? Obviously you've been covering local sports for the Tribune and other places for what, 30 years almost?
30 years, yeah.
Yeah. When did you decide? Because I love it too. And in fact, I go back to COVID when we had to make up work in order to, have a sportscast. We did.
Yeah.
We did take like 22 people and we ranked the best football stadiums in our area, in the Quad Cities area in Iowa and Illinois. And it was so much fun to do. We took the drone out and you got out of your house and you did each story, and each night we had a countdown to number one and all that kind of stuff. That's what's fun about high school sports. The football stadiums, the basketball gyms are amazing. What made you think, okay, now I'm going to try to get to all of them or so many of them and put it all together for one book for people to check out?
So I love that you said football, because that's kind of where the idea started.
Okay.
Back in the early 2000s, I used to run a website called Illinois High School Football Weekly, and I had been doing a little bit of a photo story about some of the better high school football stadiums in the state, Rock Island's Bowl being one of them. So I'm curious, your piece, which was your number one?
That was
gym in the
number
area?
one, Sterling.
Go figure.
Sterling has a really cool
Sterling's
one up.
got a really cool one as well.
And then I think Bob Reed Field and Geneseo was number 3 on the list. Yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And Sterling's gym is their field house is also in this book. So that's where it started. And so one of the things that I do is, being a freelancer, I get assigned from different newspapers to cover different sports. And, everybody's always surprised that I'm not like, you're not at this game. I'm like, I don't get to pick the games that I go to. I'm like, it's whoever they're doing a story on. Yeah. So like, I don't go to like the big game that week. And I was at a Saturday afternoon girls basketball game at Oak Park River Forest, and they were playing against Lyons Township. And I remember walking into this giant field house. It's probably one of the biggest high school gyms in the state lengthwise, and thinking like, wow, this place is pretty epic. Somebody should do a thing about high school gyms the way I'm kind of been looking at the high school football stadiums. And I'm like, I could do that. I'm like, it's too easy. Somebody else has already done it. And fast forward 10 years to, basically 2022. And it was December of 21, and I was sitting in a basketball gym in Chicago at Brother Rice High School. And I was like, this is a cool gym. I've always thought it was a cool gym. That idea that I had back in Oak Park ages ago, I'm like, I should do that, because we all really missed high school sports after COVID.
Yeah.
And people keep talking about what's a good gym, which is the best. And I was like, a lot of people talk about Brother Rice being like one of the better gyms in the Chicago Catholic League. And I'm like, so I just started asking friends, writers, athletic directors, coaches, like, hey, what's a great gym that you've been in the state of Illinois? And, I got a list that was up to about 250. I have a very large multi-sheet, multi-columned row spreadsheet that I basically went through and put a check mark. So if I hadn't seen the gym personally, I was scouring the internet for photos of it. I called up a couple of schools and be like, hey, can you send me a picture of your gym?
Yeah.
Or had people who were off to one be like, hey, send me a picture of this gym when you go there. Like, I don't have anything good at Riverton. Like, send me something. And yeah, narrowed it down to 250 out of the over almost 830 high schools in the state. And now we're down to the book came out, and there's about 100 active high school gyms and about another 24 that are what we call I kind of referred to them as like not necessarily ghost gyms, but they don't get used anymore.
Sure.
Or some of them have actually been demolished now, like Gates Gym that was up at New Trier here, just in the North Burbs. But there's other ones like Mount Carmel Alumni Gym, Mount Carmel in Chicago. They have their old gym and they still use it for mostly wrestling and every now and then a throwback basketball game. But
wow.
So you normally don't get to see that. And there's a selection of gyms in there that are just like that, where they're still around but not often used.
People you don't rank the gyms. You leave that to the people to decide, correct?
Yeah, that was the one thing I realized right off the bat, is the kids would say, I didn't want that smoke. That is not something I was going to put down in print where I ranked each gym. Now, I do have a personal ranking. If you've been following on Instagram or the TikTok reels that I've been making, I am kind of showing my personal rankings in these little like promo videos that I'm doing for the book about each gym. But in general, yeah, it's nowhere in the book do I say this is the best one.
Sure. No, what I always realized with that, and I kind of realized it with the stadium when we did, is that yes, you make one gym very happy, and then you make a bunch of other people unhappy, and it's easier to do the opposite almost than that. Vincent Johnson joining me right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Vincent, when it comes to our Quad City area, how did you begin looking to, you mentioned Musgrove's in there. Obviously Wharton Fieldhouse, I believe, is on the cover.
Wharton is on the cover. Yeah, that was a hard one, figuring out what's going to be on the cover.
So
I was trying to do a
doesn't
a
it
five
make that number
spread.
one? Doesn't that make it number one if it's on the cover? Come on, a little bit.
It's in the top 5. Okay, let's just say that my personal ranking is it's top 5. But,
I love it. I love it.
There's some stiff competition in this state. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
That's
what brought
I
you to
always
the
say to
Quad City
people.
area, or which ones kind of highlighted? And had you been to Wharton Fieldhouse before you
I
started
had
this
not
project?
been to Wharton Fieldhouse.
Oh wow.
I had not been to Wharton. For the longest time, it's funny. I'm seen as a high school basketball guy now. A lot of people will start reminiscing about like games and players that were playing like 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm like, I'm not really super up on. Like, we want to talk football, high school football. I'm up on. Like, I've been doing that since I was in high school in the early '90s. But basketball, I mean, I used to play a lot of basketball, like not on teams, but I love the sport, but it wasn't always my main one. So, but yeah, you're not wrong about the getting. You got the one school that's really happy and the 9 others that are mad at you. But I will say this, I have not gotten that much feedback from people telling me that I messed up by not putting like school A or B in the book. So I think I've done a pretty solid job on this. Everybody that should have gotten a nod kind of got a nod, and then they're broken up into chapters based on different kind of criteria. Like there's a chapter that's called Power Forwards, which are the 3 and 4A schools that are in the book. And then there's another one that's called, I want to say Small Forwards, which is the 1A and 2A schools that are in the book. And then, I break it up. So like Rock Island's actually in there twice. It's in the Power Forwards because of the field house, but it also makes it into a chapter called, I want to say it's a League of Their Own, which is about girls sports and Title IX, and its focus is on Rock Island's the girls gym, which is the old gym, but they use it just for girls basketball, not even girls volleyball, just strictly girls basketball, and it's great. And there's Macomb is also another one. They use their old high school gym, girls basketball, and so that's kind of becoming a trend where some of these older gyms or second gyms in a school get turned into a strictly girls basketball arena. And I think it's great because they love it. They get their own locker rooms. Rock Island, for example, the girls gym, I think is actually better than the main gym. And because they have the banners just for the girls, they've got a mural of all the sports in the history of like girls basketball at Rock Island up on the wall. And it's an older gym, and I have an affinity for some of the older gyms in the state. So that's why I think personally on my ring, I'd rather see a game there than in the field house at Rock Island. But so that made it. Another one is, I think a lot of people sleep on East Moline.
Yeah.
United, their gym is great. And, I think that's just in the book. I mentioned that it's, part of the downside of being in the Western Big Six, with the exception of, I think, Geneseo and who else is in there? Is Galesburg in the?
Galesburg's in there as well.
So Geneseo and Galesburg. Yeah, those are the only two that didn't make it out of the Western Big Six.
So Don Morris' gym is in the book.
Don Moore's gym. I talk about Don Moore's gym probably more than you would think. And
I'm an Alleman guy. I love this.
Yeah, it is. It is one of the most well lit gyms ever. Like I go in there and it's like photographing in the middle of the day. It's so bright in there. It's a photographer's dream.
Yeah.
The lighting in there is so bright, and that almost white wood just bounces up. So everybody's well lit. I can shoot at like the highest, shutter speed with a low ISO. So if you're a photographer, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's really good.
If you're not a photographer, he sounds really cool. Trust me. I know that. Wharton did make the cover. I want to go back to that. That's where you are tonight. What got the nod for Wharton? And I guess how'd you find out about Wharton? Who tipped you off to it? And then obviously when you got there the first time.
Didn't tip me off to Wharton.
I love it.
That's kind of, Wharton's one of those that was like, if Wharton wasn't in the book, this book wouldn't be a legit book. So Wharton is one of the, it's not just in my top 5 or top 10. It's in a lot of people's top 10s that have been around the state, because it's, first of all, it's the largest capacity high school gym in the state. It's 9th in the country. If you ever go to Wikipedia and you look at that list, it's actually 9th, because I did a little bit of research while I was doing the book, and I was like, oh wait, this is not 10th anymore, it's 9th, because one of these gyms in Indiana redid themselves. So it got bumped up a little bit. So yeah, you're welcome, Wharton. You're number 9 now instead of number 10. That was me. But then there was other things that would have got it in there eventually that I didn't know right off the bat. Like, it was the original home for the Atlanta Hawks, and that blew my mind. So did you know that, Matt?
Yes, I did.
And that Red Auerbach, the coach that led the Celtics to that run in the 50s,
yes,
he was coaching there for 1 year before he ended up going to the Celtics. So it's like this legend was here, walking the same court as these high school kids are now, and it's kind of like playing in Wrigley Field when, like, hey, that's where Babe Ruth called his shot. Like, that's where Red Auerbach started his his career, his coaching career.
It's an awesome place to be. You'll be there tonight as well. People can stop and get the book and all of those kind of things. The reaction to the book, it came out in October. I've had so many different people, and you've been on View from the West podcast, my good friends Greg and Mitch.
Yeah.
Kory Kuffler is going to be on later in the show, my former co-worker at WQAD, and he tells me about it all the time as well. What has the reaction been about? Because, and you mentioned there's always negative, and maybe you haven't heard that, which is great. I don't want to say negative, but you left us out more than negative. What's the reaction been about? What's it been like? Everything I hear, people absolutely love what you did.
Yeah, that's kind of like, listen, I'm not going to lie. I put a lot of work into this, and in my mind, it was an amazing book, and I was ready to like blow people's minds when they saw it. But, I also, I didn't expect to blow everybody's mind. Like, I knew there's going to be this certain kind of like the gym rat guy or the really big hoops fan that's absolutely going to love this thing. But yeah, it's been a little surprising. It's been humbling. It really is just to see people's reactions. I think one of the two of the coolest things that I heard while I was doing the kind of circuit of Christmas tournaments, holiday tournaments, was I had a woman come up, and her husband was buying the book, and he's like, I'm buying this for my friend. He's like, because she already got me a copy for Christmas, but she also won't give it to me. So I might have to sneak a peek at this one. And she's like, yeah, we've been married 22 years. And this is the first time he's ever asked for his Christmas present early. And I'm like, oh, that's great. You know, one of the coaches from Downstate Triad I was talking to him at Collinsville, and he's like, yeah, I've got a book already. He's like, I'm buying this one to give to my friend because I'm sick of trying to get my copy back from him.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, it's just stuff like that that's just blowing my mind. Like I mean, there's a lot of people who love that. I mean, I was interviewed here in Chicago by Dion Miller from ABC7, and she's like, what made you do this? And I'm like, well, I'm not right in the head, and you gotta be a little crazy, and it's the as much as I'm a sports guy, I'm still an artist at heart. So I think you just sometimes you run wild and you do things that seem insane, and then they turn out to be really, really cool. And my goal always was to, I kind of wanted to make like the best book about high school sports ever in the state of Illinois. Like if I die and this is like referred to kind of as like Illinois' Friday Night Lights, I'll be happy. Like that can go on my tombstone.
No, it's well working that way. Now, my last question for you, and you said you're a football guy at heart, and I love high school football as well. Is there another book coming out maybe when it comes to stadiums in the beautiful state of Illinois?
Oh my God, you are not the first person to ask me that one, or even suggest it. People, you got to do football now, and I'm like, So, I don't know. I've thought about it, but I will say this: football is one of those things where the stadium doesn't kind of affect the sport the way that it does, at least for high school basketball. And even like, I think high school basketball differs more than college and pros because the building doesn't affect how the game is played. It doesn't, there's always so much space at the pro and college level. And it kind of, high school basketball reminds me of Major League baseball stadiums. Like there's always a little nook or cranny with the baseball stadiums. The actual term, like, ground rules has to do with the fact that those are the rules for the grounds that you're playing at today, because they differ because it's the ivy, there's a hill in center field, there's a flag post out there that you got to worry about. And no other sport outside of baseball, I think, really does that. Basketball, football, you have some great looking buildings that surround the field. But I mean, there's some basketball stadiums or basketball gyms in Illinois for high school that they affect the game. I mean, if you look at Lindblom Academy there in Chicago, Math and Science Academy in Chicago, there's a running track that goes around this gym that was built in the 30s that you can't shoot a baseline corner three. Like you will hit the running track that's at like 7 feet, and the ceiling's low, and like the crowd, literally the student sections, the students are relegated to the upper deck, which is the running track, and they're hanging over you and looking down at you. And so it's stuff like that I don't know a single college that could replicate that. And there's definitely nothing in the NBA with all its skyboxes and fancy courtside seats to the rich and famous. So yeah, where you could run into a brick wall if you're playing a game at Marshall High School in Chicago. So yeah,
it's well put, well said. If you're in the Quad Cities area tonight and you need a great book, stop by Wharton Fieldhouse. Moline fans watching this, make sure you're ready for it, because Wharton Fieldhouse is on the cover, and it's really good. Go ahead.
One more thing, and this is what I always say, live outside the pages of the book, but also use that $7 that would be for shipping to just buy the ticket and some concession stands at the game. So if you're in Moline, swing over there and just think of this as a way to like get free shipping.
It's great point. And also, if you're not able to get to Moline, but you're a UT fan that heard about this in Rock Island, or just Hank Alleman, I love Don Morris Gym.
Yeah.
How do they go? Let's say somebody's watching this, UT, I can't get there because I got to go to watch UT tonight. They're at Sterling, I think, so they're not going to be able to get there. How can you go on? How do you get the book if you can't get to Wharton Fieldhouse tonight?
Illustriousgyms.com is where the book is right now. There's a couple of high schools that have some extra copies that are selling nothing in the Quad Cities as of yet. And, as far as bookstores, it's kind of been a little rough shot to get into bookstores. But so if you're an independent bookstore and you want to get some books out there, just hit me up at illustriousgyms.com. If you buy 2 copies, you don't have to pay shipping, but you didn't hear that from me, because I want you to go to the game and get the book there and say hi to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, go visit Vincent tonight. Vincent, I will be there before I go to Alleman and say hi and all that kind of stuff. I will see you later tonight. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to check out the book. I've seen it. I've seen parts of it. I've had a buddy that I got to look at it. I'm going to get a copy of my own when I get there tonight. So I appreciate you, and we'll catch up again real soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. That's Vincent Johnson. Great book, Illustrious, Wharton Fieldhouse on the cover. Get to Wharton tonight, enjoy a good basketball game between Quincy and Moline, and pick up a copy of a really cool book. We got much more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Friday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Friday here in the Quad Cities, of course. Friday means high school basketball on both sides of the river. Crazy, busy Friday nights. Something I miss a little bit. And one of the things I also miss, well, not things, but people that I actually miss as well. You're not a thing, Cuff. You're a person.
No.
And
I could be.
Well, that's a whole different story. This is well overdue. Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I'm excited. When you texted me, I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Well, I didn't want to confuse people because we look so much alike and all those kind of things. It's like seeing double vision. But yeah, no, it's been.
You should take the names and flip them just to mess people up.
I should have. You know what? I'm going to be very honest with you, and this won't surprise you. I know how to change the name underneath you. I have no idea how to change the name underneath me. No clue. Dane set that up at the very beginning. I don't touch it. I know how to do this. I have no idea how to do that. So
that fits. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's funny because, and I want to grab it real quick. Just this week, somebody had responded to one of my Facebook posts, and I didn't understand it really because she was kind of talking about you guys never cover we cover Iowa too much and not Illinois or something like that.
Sure.
And then I said, hey, just a heads up. So, I don't do local TV anymore. And she goes, oh my gosh, you're right. I gotta find it because it was just the way she said it was hilarious. Cause she's like, oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't realize it. There you go. She said, where is it at? She said, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do remember this. I got to say you and Kory look alike, which we get all the time. And
Right.
That's definitely a compliment. Look at that.
For both of us or
I
for
guess.
one of us?
I guess. I'll take it. And it wasn't even my mom or my wife or anything like that.
Right.
So we'll take it. Obviously, Kory and I, was it 15 years do we work together?
Yeah. 2010 to 2025. Yeah, 15
That
years.
is wild. And you're still loving it, killing it, doing the great stuff. What's Friday nights like? Because I know what they're like, but for people watching, that's the one thing I think I miss the most. Besides people, I don't want to get I don't want to rank Wheezy U, all that stuff. But
Right.
like when it
I
comes to,
gotcha.
besides the people, Jay-Z was on yesterday. That was a blast. But I think the Friday nights are the things the thing I miss the most.
Look, I understood how much work you put into getting things kind of figured out and what the schedules looked like and the swings and all the stuff that we did.
Yeah.
We would talk about it throughout the week. Like, hey, what about this? We bounce ideas and talk about things all the time. So I understood that part of it.
Sure.
Now that you're not here, I'm doing it. I got no way to bounce it off of. I mean, Jenna's great. Don't get me wrong. Jenna's great. And I bounce the ideas off her and she's awesome. But one week, and she'll tell you this, I was like, all right, I want you to put the football schedule together just in case anything were to ever happen and I couldn't be in.
Sure.
And she starts putting things together. I go, yeah, those two schools don't go together. Or
know.
These two don't. It's because if you don't know the area, it's hard. So luckily we knew the area. So it was easy to, okay, this school, that school, they all go together. And so that's what you go through on a Friday night and before Friday night to figure out, all right, how many shooters do you have? What are the swings you're going to get? What cars are they going to drive?
Yeah.
And are they going to get back in time?
Yeah. I think the thing was, it was like a puzzle that like you got to put together each week because and the puzzle pieces were always different. And it was like kind of a challenge to put it all together. And some weeks you're just like, oh, this week is great. It fits. And some weeks the games were like, oh man, we have like such great games all over the area. And then there were a few weeks that you're like, oh, like, I don't know what my lead's going to be because it's just not that great of a week when it comes to matchups. But I will say some of those weeks that you're like, there's not really anything great, were probably some of our best weeks because you never know what to expect when it comes to those kind of things as well. But that and the figuring out who's going to get back in time. And then of course you think you know how many shooters you have. And then all of a sudden Andy McKay texts you at like 7 a.m. with a surprise that this is going on or this person called in sick. But I think it's just like a sickness because it's such a fun day. And then when you're done at night, like I think some of our best times were we would just go back to the office and just sit there and go, oh, what just happened? Or fill me in on your night and I'll tell you about my night because it was crazy one way or the other.
And that was always the fun part of, like you said, that the after, if you call it the after party, if you will, or whatever, the after the
don't
show
get me in
break.
any trouble. There was no partying going on. I'm still like
the after show breakdown, if you will.
There you go.
Because you're like, oh man, I didn't know if I was going to get this, and then this happened, and I got it, and it was great. But that sometimes is the fun of the chase of the night. It was that thrill. You lived it forever. I'm still living it now, but it's one of those things that it's a sickness. It's fun. And you just wonder how many people actually enjoy it, and you don't know until people start telling you, like, oh yeah, I like your show. I think you guys do a great job. I think this is awesome. So that's the cool part.
What I found probably, it took me a little while, but I realized, and I know you've realized, is that it's easy to hear the complaints. Those are so easy. Nobody sits down and goes, okay, I'm going to get on the computer and text a nice email. I mean, They do happen and they're great, and social media is good for that and then bad for the other one too. But I would love people just to remember what you still do and what I used to go through. It's like, I promise you, we're not being lazy. We are turning every stone. I would just get like, there'd be times I remember like, hey, Cuff, we lost a couple shooters. What are we going to do? And somebody would say like Wheezy would be like, you might have to drop some games. And I'm like, no, I don't. It wasn't an option to like make things shorter. It was just, we're going to figure out how to get it done. And we usually somehow did along the way, which was crazy as well. When it comes to Friday nights, is there, can you explain Pearsonitis to people?
Okay, so Pearsonitis, and I know you've had Dan on the show as well.
Yeah.
Pearsonitis is when you stay at a game longer than you should because everybody else, your competition, the other stations have left, and you're like, I want that one play that they're not going to get.
Yeah.
So you get it, but now you might be 15 minutes longer than you needed to, which means you have less time to edit, less time to write your script, less time for everything when you get back. So you're really rushed and hurried. And that's what we call Pearsonitis.
It's funny because there'd be time, and Dan was maybe the one I did it the most with because he was there when I was trying, and I'm like, I can, and he could never get him. But like it's like almost like a duel, like a stare off. It's like, Are you going to leave? I'm not leaving. Are you going to leave? I remember one time we left Sherrard, and it was a Saturday, so we each had probably like a 6 o'clock show, and it was the wrestling sectionals or regionals, something like that. And the finals went late, and so they started late, and like we both ran out of Sherrard, and I was 15 minutes from Sherrard, 20.
Right.
I mean, he's solid. He's probably a solid 25 minutes. He's longer. And I'm like, we're not going to make the show. Like, there's just no way. And then we'd see each other later on the night and be like, did you do it? And I was like, yeah, we got it done. Somehow, normally, we got it all done somehow, some way. Kory Kuffler from WQAD joining me right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. What's tonight look like? I know it's been a fun season, a good season. I've done some MediaCom stuff. We had Alvin Vesey on last week. And we had Ron O'Brien on just yesterday, kind of talking about the Central DeWitt Sabres and how good they are. What's the game tonight?
It's funny you ask because I have with me the list of all the games that we could.
Are there swings on there or no?
No, no swings yet. I just
would never.
Games.
If I was still doing it, I would never even put that up on the screen because I would be afraid that maybe a competitor would like screen grab it and know what we're doing. That's how stupidly competitive I was.
Well, I mean, and here's the funny thing about that is we were competitive with them, the other stations. There were no viewers that were like, well, I'm going to flip now and see what the others. Only we do that. Yep. Only we do that.
You mean other people don't record the other two and watch it later? Like we do?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Write down who has what. Like it's a score sheet. No one does that.
Yep.
Never mind. Okay, good.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Yeah, you mentioned Bettendorf. Wow, what a season they're having. You looked at them at the beginning of the year, and they're a younger team. They lost some really good players, some good scoring talent from last year, and they're undefeated in the MAC. I mean, just unbelievable what Alan Vesey's doing with those Bulldogs right now. So Michael Gordon hits the big shot the other day against I think it wasn't Muscatine. It was
Muscatine.
I don't know.
No, it
was Muscatine the half-court shot against Muscatine? Because it was a Tuesday night game. Yeah, it was a Tuesday night game.
Coach Vesey was on last Thursday, and he started to give me a hard time, like that I was going to be a jinx. And I'm like, no. So I was thrilled when they beat PV. No offense, Steve Hillman. I love Coach Hillman and what they do at PV, but like, don't be pinning this whole like jinx stuff on me. But yeah, and I did say to Alvin Vesey on the show, I said, everybody's seeing the shot, and it was on WQAD. And I know, like, because that's Cuff. He's like, this is the biggest game. And it's a Tuesday night. Let's stay to the end and see what happens. Got it right, you wily veteran.
Got it right. For once in my life, I got it right. You know what's cool about that? So Jonah shot that game. He submitted that or put it out there on social and tagged Sports Center Top 10 and made it on Top 10. That was his video.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that till, somebody told me that this week. Like, you know, that it might have even been like on the YouTube chat. Somebody said to me on the YouTube chat one day, like, hey, that made so they're where tonight? They're at Davenport Central.
Davenport Central, which should be a good game. Central's pretty athletic. They beat North earlier in the season, so they've got some good play. Carter Light, fantastic player for Davenport Central. If you don't stop him, he can easily score 30 a game and win Davenport Central the game. So that's one of the big ones. Pleasant Valley North Scott. That's going to be a really good matchup on the MAC boys side. Josiah Harrington, if you haven't seen him play, he's the real deal. I mean, he's going to Iowa State, committed last year as a junior. He can take it on the dribble. He can stop and pop. He can shoot the three. He can distribute the ball. He's a legit D1 player. He's like 6'6", maybe 6'7" or 6'8" even. He's a tall kid, but, man, he can play. Yeah. So those are a couple of big ones in the MAC on the boys side.
Scott lost on Tuesday. Did you hear what happened?
I didn't. We didn't get to that game.
See, these are the kind of things that I can talk about more on this show than on the. So he was ejected on Friday against Central DeWitt.
Harrington was?
Yeah, and because he was ejected, he had to miss next game. The only reason I know this, and it won't get me in trouble, but I happen to know somebody who was on the crew of that night, and it was a very controversial call. So they sat, and I think they lost to Central, but I know that Josiah didn't play. So he's back tomorrow or tonight, excuse me. So I'd expect for him to have a really good kid. And I say that like ejection wise and stuff. Like it was an after a play kind of knee that was you can construe any other way. I don't want to get into all that, but really a nice kid and a really good basketball player as well. That one stands out to me as well when it comes to games in the MAC. Muscatine, have you seen Muscatine play in person or no?
Yes. Yeah, they're good. They've got some really good players. They like to get out and run. Coach Luke Torelli is doing a great job with them down there. That Bettendorf Muscatine game was a really good one. Again, I wasn't there, but I have seen them play in person. They're quick. They're athletic. They like to get up and down the court. They can shoot it, and they got guys that can jump out of the gym too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. MAC girls-wise, a lot of stuff on Thursday night. And you, of course, were around North Scott PV.
North Scott PV, which was a slow start between those two teams. PV did end up winning that game. North Scott's ranked, PV's not, but again, they're different classes. One's in 4A, one's in 5A. Jennifer Getz does a great job over there. I mean, she's got great players. Zoe Asadi, Isabel Kramer, they got some players, and they ended up taking care of business. They beat North Scott on Thursday night. And then the other game was Bettendorf played Central at home. At Bettendorf, and they took care of business, 58-23. Olivia McCorkle, she's good. She's really good. She's a Houston commit.
Yep.
So she's really good. I covered her dad, Wesley, when he played at Moline.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think I did know that. Gosh, that makes me feel old.
Right? He was like an 03, 04 grad from Moline.
Was he like the Ryan Weber years?
No, before that. Okay. He would have been Frank Dexter.
Okay. Because it was Charlie and Alleman went down to Quincy, and he's like, Dad, have you ever been down to Quincy? And he went last year. He was a freshman, but dressed a little sophomore, but he wasn't going to play. And I'm like, I'm not going to go down there and so I didn't make it this week, but this year. But he's like, have you ever been down there? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and the last time I was down there for the fire and all that kind of stuff was Ryan Weber's team from Moline won a regional championship down there. And the only way we could get it, because back then Dewar wasn't with us. It was the whole, there's a new conglomeration or whatever it is. So anyways, that's the last time I had been down there for Quincy. We'll talk about that in a second. MAC girls wise, and we'll finish up Central DeWitt. I got to call a game with them earlier this season on MC22. I know they lost Lauren Walker, but Ava Putnam might be the best player in the MAC again that nobody talked about going into this season. Yeah. Kind of like Lauren Walker did last season with all the talent in the MAC last season. Lauren Walker was probably the player of the year, and Ava is doing the same thing this year.
Yeah, and her sister Emma, I believe, was a sophomore. They were both playing. Very good sister act right there. Yeah. And give Ron O'Brien some credit. I mean, the man can coach. I know you just had him on too, but I mean, the man can coach. You know, you look at them, and nobody expected them to be this team that's leading the MAC right now, especially when you had Jayliana Guy going back to Clinton, the Stanford commit as only a sophomore. She's really good, makes them a whole lot better. And they've taken care of business in Central DeWitt. Doesn't matter who they're playing. They're really good as a team. They work well as a team. They're a fun team to watch for sure.
Yeah, they held Bettendorf to 26 points, I think, on Tuesday night. And they've gone to PV and won that game already. So obviously they got the second half of the season. But other games, it is North at Clinton. You mentioned Jayliana Guy, and then Assumption at Muscatine tonight as well. Western Big Six-wise, coaching matters, and I'm not saying that in a negative way to anybody else, but Sean Taylor, that old goofy guy, is doing it again, and there's another Welch doing it at Moline. The Maroons are legit.
They're good. I was at the Moline Rocky game watching in the stands, and going into that game, I know I'm going to say this, and Moline people are going to hate me because I'm a Moline guy, obviously. Graduated there and everything, but I didn't expect them to win. I really didn't. I thought it either. Potentially could have been a double-digit loss. But I was about 4 rows or 5 rows behind Sean Taylor in the bench. And he called a timeout early because Rocky started to run like they like to and get up and down the court. And he said, hey, don't forget what we're supposed to be doing, and kind of reiterated their game plan to them. They perfected it. Man, they made Rocky shoot threes, and they didn't hit the threes that night. Moline played out of their mind. Grant Welch knows where I'm at. Brady
sense.
Welch. Yeah, Brady Welch. Man, what a great game he had. I think he had 29 or something like that. Really good game for him. But yeah, he can coach because they're a young team. They only have a couple seniors, and I think Ami Singh comes off the bench now for Moline. But the rest of those guys, their first game of the season was against QND, and I looked around going, well, there's Brady, and I don't know the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
So they're playing really well.
It's getting weird because the same kids that Charlie grew up playing with are like now all over the place. And I'm like, I remember coaching. I don't know how much coaching I did, but yelling at my kids while they kicked our butt. But I'm like, okay, there's another Taylor coming. Kory Taylor is a sophomore.
Yeah.
He's playing some varsity and playing well as well. So yeah, obviously a really good story at Moline. They host Quincy. I'm trying to figure Quincy out. Now they beat the Pioneers pretty good the other night. I know they're young, and I think that's kind of their thing is they're just trying to, go with the younger guys, and they lost so much from the last couple of years too.
Yeah, I mean, you go from a team that was almost into the super sectionals each of the last 2 years to losing all the guys that D1 guys that played either basketball, football, whatever. That's hard to replace. So yeah, they're young. Growing pains are going to happen down there. I know that's not a place to have it happen, but we'll see how Andy Douglas survives this year.
Yeah, Rock Island is at Alleman. I'll be at that game. I'm gonna try to talk it up, but Mark Polite's doing a really good job. I understand the task at hand when it comes to that one. I can't even be a homer even enough. So UT is at Sterling. I was at Sterling last week. Alleman went up there, and Sterling. I talked to Coach Vasquez early before the game, and he's like, "This is my youngest team and 11 years of doing it. I think they'll turn a corner, but Alleman got them last week. We'll see. Always a tough place to play with Musgrove. And that's where UT heads up to, and then Geneseo and Galesburg as well. Of all of those coaches in the Western Big Six, who do you hate the most?
None of them.
I'm just kidding. Come on, nothing? Nothing?
No. I have a very small list of people that I don't like, and it's 0. So there you go.
No, I know some. That's not true. Let me get my cuff list out. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I gotta go. No, I'm just kidding. Can we talk about your Bears for a little bit?
Sure.
Can we get this national nightmare that is the Chicago Bears? Can it go away? Can we be done with this?
No. As far as I'm concerned, no, it can't.
What was last Saturday? I've been asking Bears fans this all week. What was last Saturday night like for you? Because I will say this, and I don't like the Bears. Everybody knows that, but sure. I am happy for Bears fans that I like, if that makes any sense. And you'd be one of them, the non-obnoxious ones. Like right. Tom Kakert, I'm not happy for him. He's obnoxious. He's one of those guys who texts me every time the Lions lose and all that kind of stuff. There's others I won't say. But for you people like Wheezy, I'm thrilled for Wheezy.
Yeah.
What was last Saturday night like for you?
First half, despair, darkness. The season's over. They guys should have never made the playoffs. They're terrible. Second half was like, oh yeah, here they are. This is the team they've been all year. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Those last, I guess, 2+ minutes, 2.5 minutes, whatever it was before the Bears scored to take the lead. You're like, all right, they've done it before. They can do it again. Caleb can do it again. And then they score. And you're like, oh my gosh, they left too much time on the clock, but they need a touchdown. So that's okay. I didn't want them to play the Packers in the playoffs, period. Yeah. Okay. They lost the first game, and they played decent in the first game and again in the second half and almost won, but they lost. Second game, when they won at home, they had no business winning that game. They got lucky, right? If they don't get the onside kick, if they don't have a few things go there, they got lucky. So I didn't want to play the Packers, but then I looked and like, oh, but I don't want to play the 49ers either because they just picked them apart. But I don't want to play the Eagles. I don't want to play anybody in the playoffs as a Bears fan. I'm just like, can we just advance them and not play?
No.
I wish.
The answer is no.
Yeah. It was fun, though. I'm not going to lie. The ending was great. I watched with my daughter, Carson. It was fantastic. We high-fived. It was fun. It was fun to see a game of that caliber again for the Bears.
You remember 85, and so that's the one that but most, I mean, honestly, we're getting old. I don't want to tell you this, but if you're 40 or younger, you don't remember this. I mean, obviously.
Right.
With that said, obviously that Super Bowl's got to count for more. But I would, and I asked Bobby Metcalf a bunch of questions earlier this week, like Bears wise, and you're a Cardinal fan, unfortunately, so we won't get into like Chicago sports, but Bears fan wise, that's the biggest win since the Super Bowl, maybe, or not biggest, but most memorable, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because it's that team. It's that team that they, you know what I mean?
Was it? I think it was 06 when they got to the Super Bowl again and played they got to the Colts. They beat the Saints and played the Colts in the Super Bowl. So that win, the NFC Championship game, would have been that next big one, I guess you could say, or more recent one. But I don't ever remember a game where it meant so much and you beat your biggest rival.
That's the thing.
That was the thing. You beat the Packers. You beat the Packers 2 out of 3 times this year. It's something that Ben Johnson said, and he doubled down. You know, he dropped the F-bomb on the Packers, and he said on Monday, George McCaskey's behind me, so let's go ahead and do this.
Why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you dislike your rival? That's sports. That's what it's. That's exactly everything. Okay, let's fast forward to this week. What happens? And I still like. Eventually, by the end of this show, I got to give a pick because, like last week, everything that happened in the first half is logically what I thought would happen in the game. It was like the team you didn't want to play less than a month after you played them, after what happened. Bobby brought this up the other day. The Bears never took an offensive snap against the Packers this year with the lead.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
And you win twice.
The other one was with 5 minutes or less to go in the game, the Bears trailed by 10 or more points 6 times this year, and they went 3-3. So they won 3 games when they trailed by double figures with 5 minutes to go. The rest of the NFL, 3 and 158 in games similar to that. Like, it's wild. So like, while my mind says like, and I'm a Stafford guy, and I was happy when he won the first one. I don't want to see him win another, but I said a couple last week, probably before the playoffs started, I had Buffalo and the Rams. And I'm like, Josh Allen's the best quarterback left. All the other ones aren't there. I know there's probably better teams, but like he's the best quarterback. And then the Rams are the most complete team. They have Stafford and Nakua, and they throw the football. They run it well. Right. Good offensive line. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. Their defense is solid and good as well. I love their head coach. I think Sean McVay's really good. I'm like, they're the most complete team. So my mind, and I know you'll be surprised by this, but I don't think the Bears are as good as the record. I'll just say it nicely. Like, I don't think they're as good as the record. So like, it makes sense that the Rams win, but how do you pick against the Bears right now?
So when the Bears are getting ready to play, my son and I, Justin, I was talking to him and I said, all right, if the Bears win, who do you want them to play? We both go 1, 2, 3, and we said our name. We both said the Rams.
Really?
Because we didn't want to play the 49ers. Okay. And you figure LA team coming into play in the cold, maybe that plays a factor. I know Stafford's played in the cold. Now, I've talked to people this week, and I've said to them, I said, okay, can Matthew Stafford and the Rams come in and just pick apart that Bears secondary that's been decimated, throw for 4 touchdowns, and they just roll them? Absolutely.
No, that'd be fun. I'm just kidding.
But could Matthew Stafford come into Chicago and throw 4 interceptions and have an absolute terrible game?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the latter happens.
Sure.
Because I think they're still, last I saw, I think they're still a 3.5-point favorite, if I'm not mistaken.
It opened at 4.5.
So
it got down to 3.5.
It was 4. Yeah.
And my thing too, I thought you could beat the Eagles though. And I mean, you could still beat the Rams, but like you already did it. The blueprint was there, and they just seem like a mess. They just seem like the offense has been weird. They're not very like high powered. Here's another crazy one. So I watched the Niners and Bears game, and the Bears got the pick 6 early in the game, but they never forced a punt all game. And then the Bears-Lions game, I think the Lions punted twice, maybe once for sure, maybe twice. And then the first half of the Packers game, the Packers never punted. And so I'm like, there's 10 quarters where they forced 2 punts. They forced 4 straight punts in the third quarter. Like, it's just wild. Like the numbers and everything were crazy. No, it's wild. So your pick, give me a number, give me a score, give me the winner.
So, well, obviously, I'm taking the Bears. I have to. I mean, I'm not going to root against my team. So I will say Bears win 24-17.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
24-17. And they score late. It's tied. They score late because that's just what they do. I mean, that's just what they do.
Absolutely,
right?
it is.
So,
absolutely. Tell us about the score tonight before I let you go. I don't know if you've counted up the games and all that kind of stuff, but it should be another fun night.
Yep. We'll have around 17 games. We'll have a mic'd up with one of the coaches. We'll get some post. Post could potentially be from the Moline game. I'm going to say that because if they win, they will run the table in the first half of the Big Six and be 7-0 before they go the second half. And something interesting that we're doing, because last week I got a little overzealous. I had too many games. Go figure. We had too many games. We had some posts. We were heavy, cutting games. Yeah. We've never done that before, right?
Okay, go ahead and finish up, and I got to tell you one more thing before we go.
So the whole second half of the score last week, I was very distracted, thinking like, how can we fix this? And my solution is we're going to go 15 extra minutes on streaming after the show's over. Stocking can give more stats. We can talk about some of the games and maybe even do an interview like this with one of the coaches or something like that, just to kind of add something to it. So
I like it.
That's what we're going to plan on doing. So, 17 games, a mic'd up, a post, and then some streaming afterwards.
Real quick, my favorites were it was a couple of years ago. Nick Welch was on set with us outside, so it was football, and Pat Anger came over. He was our guest griller, and I think they got through the first segment. We were like 7 minutes heavy, which in TV time is a lifetime. Like if you're a minute heavy, they're like, hey, you're a minute heavy. But we landed the plane. I'm sure you landed the plane last week, so everything was fine. And then the other one was we used to have pizza on set. And we were just telling my sister or somebody this story the other day.
By the way, it's back. Harris Pizza is back.
If you what would they say if I randomly walked in and grabbed a slice of pizza and left? I probably wouldn't go over very well. But
no, I won't say anything. They'll think it's me.
I think it was just you and me were on set. Maybe Greg.
Yes, it was.
But it's
no, it was you and me. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
And I went to go I didn't know it was my read, and I'm like, I'm starving, and I'm like, grabbed a piece of pizza, took a big bite, and you looked at me, I'm like, oh, it's my read. So I opened my mouth, I took the bite of pizza, I didn't know what to do with it, so I threw it in the middle of the studio. It just landed on the floor, and hey, I'm a professional. What can I say?
Yeah, and you went right into your read like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I probably messed up the read too. So, hey, Cuff, I appreciate this. We'll do this again soon sometime. Have a good Friday night. I'll see you out and about. Yeah,
you too. Keep up the good work on your show. It's been awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. That is Kory Kuffler, my better half. And I say this all the time. Kory and I don't think we ever really had a big argument. And maybe I'm sure he was annoyed with me a million times, but we never had a big argument. And I always say that's because of Cuff. He was the even keel one. I was the idiot. And so it all worked out. So always great to catch up with Cuff. We got much more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Friday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. and the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. It's a big Friday night of sports all over the place. You got the high school basketball, both sides of the river. We've talked about that today. There's a huge duel up in Iowa City between two top 4 teams in the nation. Number 4 Iowa welcomes number 1 Penn State to town, and you'd think, wow, that's going to be an amazing, and it's going to be a great night of wrestling. But when you look at it, Penn State, number 1 in the nation, heavily ranked, heavily favored, and Tanner Lafever from the Hawkeye Report joins us to preview things. First and foremost, happy holidays, belated New Year, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing fine. Ask me again in 12 hours, and we'll see how I'm holding up, depending on the result of tonight's duel.
Yeah, it's a big one. Iowa and Penn State. We'll get to that matchup and what Penn State has done. They've won 78 straight and counting maybe tonight. But let's start with maybe the news of the week. And it's unfortunate because some of the news for Iowa wrestling isn't happening on the mat itself. They lose Masoma and Dean. Leaves the program. We really don't know a lot about it. What do you know? What can you tell us? I know it's a weird situation right now where there's not a lot of concrete information, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think the safest way to describe it would be unclear right now. And obviously his absence on the mat is significant. All we know from either party directly, whether it's Iowa or Dean, is what Tom Brand said at media availability on Tuesday. He started off just by announcing that Dean was no longer with the program. More or less said sometimes these things work out, sometimes they don't, and wished him well moving forward. So other than that, we don't have any information from either of the principal parties involved. Depending on how interested or susceptible you are to diving down various internet rabbit holes, there's been, I use the term information in air quotes, put out regarding what some allege to have happened. But, nothing that, me and Tom talked about on Hawkeye Report podcast last night, nothing that we would be comfortable sharing, much less verifying on our end. So for now, it's unclear what's happened. We'll see if Tom gets asked about it tonight. I don't know that after the Penn State duel, especially depending on how it goes, will be the best setting to try and broach that subject, but we'll see. As of right now, again, nothing concrete from either side other than Brand's comments that Dean is no longer with the program. And when the snap of your fingers, Iowa loses the number 4 ranked 197 pounder in the country out of its lineup and one of the real bright spots to the season up until Tuesday afternoon.
You kind of mentioned it and how good he's been. How does this affect, because it leaves a big hole in the roster. Now, maybe matching up with Penn State, it maybe doesn't affect tonight a lot per se, but like in general, big picture, what does this loss mean for that lineup? Because now at 197, there's a big hole to fill.
Yeah, I mean, he's irreplaceable, at least if you take into consideration the projected postseason points that he's going to score as a guy that's ranked top 5 in the country. Iowa lists 2 guys at the weight class this week, redshirt freshman Brody Sampson, who's, been largely a reserve through a year and a half at Iowa, and then true freshman Harvey Ludington, who actually lost his first match at Carver last weekend against Wisconsin in a pretty wild match. And it's looked, I think good so far this year. He was a really highly rated recruit out of New Jersey, but Tom Brands has alluded multiple times to wanting to, be careful with Ludington's dates. And by that, he means a true freshman can wrestle attached for the Hawkeyes 5 times while still preserving a red shirt. I believe Ludington has 2 of those dates remaining. So it sounds like Iowa is really looking to preserve that red shirt. So, maybe he gets the nod tonight and maybe one more time this season, but I don't think ultimately they want to burn that red shirt for him. And then the only other option, based on what we've seen so far, would be Gabe Arnold, going up to 97. He moonlighted there a couple times in early December, won 2 matches against, unranked or lowly ranked guys. But that was all the while he was descending down to 174 pounds to kind of challenge for that spot. And, on the probables for this week, Arnold is still listed as an or with Patrick Kennedy at 170.
We kind of did some research beforehand. They recently broke the record. Iowa's record is 69 straight. And the last time that Penn State lost was in 2020 at Carver Hawkeye Arena, I believe. It's a daunting task, man. You look at Penn State. What do they got? 4 number 1 ranked wrestlers. Everybody's in the top 10, it seems like. Kind of talk about Penn State and what they bring to town if people haven't realized how good they are.
Yeah, so the 4 number 1s, I believe that's correct. Yeah, you got that right. 4 guys ranked number 1 in the country is actually undersells them a little bit. Just kind of counting down the lineup, I'd say they have 8 legitimate national title contenders. And you could argue maybe 6 guys that would be betting favorites, maybe 7 at this point in the season. So, they're loaded. They've got experienced, hammers in the lineup. They've got the top 2 freshmen from the 2025 class have stepped right in and absolute folks from the jump. And so, those would be 2 matches at 133 and 157 that in a meet like this, if you're Iowa, you'd be hoping, hey, maybe true freshman, Carver Hawkeye Arena first time, maybe, the moment gets big and we can sneak an upset and maybe Iowa can. You got a 2-time finalist, Drake Ayala at 133 and number 12, Jordan Williams at 157. But based on how Penn State's true freshmen have wrestled, you wouldn't predict it going into this meet. So that's kind of just an overall reflection of where they're at. They've won 4 consecutive national titles. The 2 years prior to that, Iowa had the best team in the country, winning the title in 2021, and then would have been prohibitive favorites when COVID canceled 2020. But the 9 years prior to that, Penn State also won 8 out of 9 titles. So that's 12 of the last 14 contested NCAA championships that the Nittany Lions have won. You referenced they just broke the all-time Division I dual win streak record. It's now at 78. So yeah, I mean they're good and they seem to be getting better every year if that's possible.
Looking at tonight, what are some spots, some places where Iowa can score some points and do some damage? Can you rank a match or 2 that you like maybe for the Hawkeyes tonight?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, and I talked about it with Tom on our podcast last night, and then kind of in my preview up on the site for this duel, is that, for all the doom and gloom, and plenty of that is warranted, I think, you could easily pick out 4 matches for Iowa that, appear very winnable on paper, either based on current rankings, current form, or some past history. So, you'd start... I guess we can start at the lowest weight, 125, because Dean Peterson, ranked 6th for the Hawkeyes, has a win over number 2 Luke Lillidahl. He handed Penn State star sophomore his first career loss a year ago in a duel when Peterson was wrestling for Rutgers. It was a competitive match. It wasn't a fluke or anything that Peterson won and got a late takedown and won it. So to suggest that he could do that again this season is not outlandish, certainly. Probably next you go Angelo Ferrari at 184, number 1 in the country for the Hawkeyes, and having a great start to his redshirt freshman season. He will face number 4 Rocco Welsh for the Nittany Lions, former Ohio State Buckeye who was an NCAA finalist 2 years ago. That's a top 4 matchup, and both guys are undefeated. Both guys are really good. I like the matchup for Ferrari. I think he's maybe a half tier above a guy like Welch. There's a couple other guys at 184 around the country that I think might be slightly better tests for Ferrari. But that's a match that Iowa's favored to win and needs to win if they want to have any chance of putting a dent in Penn State during this duel. And then 2 more, you go Ben Keeter at heavyweight. He's ranked 8 spots higher than Cole Mirasola for the Nittany Lions. Keeter's a redshirt sophomore. Mirasola's a redshirt freshman. Keeter's going to have the experience advantage, the size advantage, the length advantage. The only thing that gives you pause is that his offense has been, minimal so far this year in terms of what he's generated himself. He's still beaten a couple pretty highly ranked opponents, but you'd expect this to be a low-scoring match. And while Keeter's the favorite, if it's close at the end, anything can happen. And then the 4th and final one I'd note is 141, where Nasir Bailey for the Hawkeyes and Braden Davis for the Nittany Lions also have past history. A year ago when Bailey was at Arkansas Little Rock, the 2 of them wrestled in a match, and Bailey lost 1-0. An escape point for for Davis was the difference in the match. So that's another one that, on paper certainly seems within the margins for Iowa. Granted, Bailey has not looked great so far this season, especially the last time we saw him at the Soldier Salute. So there's, again, on paper, it looks very winnable, but with the added caveat that the way things have been trending, it wouldn't necessarily lead you to that conclusion.
You look at tonight. We talked about some matches that Iowa can win. What should expectations be like? And then you also put, obviously, a good environment, always at Carver, but the longer people are there, the more the Hawkeyes are in it, the longer they're in it, the more people stick it out, if that makes any sense. Kind of give me a thought process of tonight and maybe your expectations and how does Iowa even hang around against the Nittany Lions?
Yeah, I'm really interested to kind of get to Carver and see what the environment's like tonight. I imagine it'll be a full house, but I'm just curious what the tenor is going to be, even in the half hour, 15 minutes leading up to the national anthem, just sort of what the vibe's going to be like in the building, because it's safe to say that there's a fair bit of unrest amongst the Hawkeye faithful in terms of not only where this season's going, but where they feel like the program's been trending over the past couple seasons since those 2 title years that I mentioned earlier. But in terms of keeping the crowd in it, presuming the duel starts at 125, which I can't think of an Iowa-Penn State duel that hasn't in recent memory. You're going to need to get on the board early. 125 and 141 were a couple of the weights that I mentioned. And so, if after the first 3 weight classes, if Iowa doesn't have at least 1 win on the board, it could be trending towards getting real ugly. And I don't know if we're going to see a mass exodus from the fans, but you could certainly see a subdued environment after intermission and getting into the back half of the duel, where a couple more of those matches that I think are winnable for the Hawks, could certainly use the crowd support. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how it unfolds, but I think we're going to know pretty early what we've got in store, assuming the duel starts at 125 pounds.
Tanner, before I let you go, I know you have your preview article up at HawkeyeReport.com. I'd encourage everybody during the day today, as you're getting ready for the matches tonight and the duel tonight to get on there. Can you give us a prediction of where things are at and where are you at in your head? And like you said, there's so many almost unknowns because of the weird week it's been and maybe how Iowa responds. What's your prediction, if you will?
Yes, I try not to make a habit of predicting regular season events, but for your show, I'll make an exception.
I'm honored.
That's right.
Take that, Caker. Take that. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, I didn't do it for him last night on the pod, so this is an exclusive.
Love it.
Yeah, I think Penn State wins this duel, certainly. Iowa's path to an improbable upset is exceedingly slim, and it's similarly tough to imagine them keeping the margin too close by the time all 10 weight classes have been wrestled. I think if I put a number on it, I think Iowa wins at least 2 out of the 10 matchups. Again, I could see it being as many as 4, and one of those I wouldn't necessarily predict, but I'm fascinated to watch is a potential Carver special at 165 pounds, where Michael Caliendo and Mitchell Messenbrink renew a years-long rivalry. The last 2 times they met in the Big Ten championship and NCAA championship a year ago were the 2 closest matches yet. And Caliendo's a senior. They could wrestle 2 more times this year, but it's not inconceivable to think that this might be his best chance ever to knock off his nemesis here. So that's another one I'm fascinated to watch and would point to. If they start at 125, that'll be the first match out of intermission. So fair bit of build up for that one. But yeah, just kind of in summation, I think Penn State wins this one, and maybe even more important than how many matches Iowa takes is, I think, how the Hawkeyes wrestle. I mentioned some of the unrest in the fan base. Part of that is results, right? Iowa wrestling, you expect championships, going back 50 years to the start of the Gable era. But this fan base also expects a certain brand of wrestling. They expect aggression, they expect scoring points, they expect domination. And there hasn't been enough of that to their liking and to what they're accustomed to in recent years, especially this season. And, even if the Hawkeyes get it put on them pretty good on the overall team score tonight, I think it'll be important how they wrestle in individual matches and how much of the initiative that they're taking to try and put points on the board and not just hang around.
That's well said. No, I completely agree. Tanner, I appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out what Tom Kaker does anymore. We got Kyle dominating in women's basketball and baseball soon. You're killing it in wrestling. Blair is awesome when it comes to the football recruiting angles and all those kind of things. Does the old man, I know he's creepy. Is he just settling into his role of being a creepy old man?
I'll give Tom this. I didn't listen to our podcast last night to necessarily see how well he edited around a near-death experience I might have had. But, I was – all of a sudden I lost the ability to speak, I think, breaking down one of the weights for tonight's duel, and Tom stepped in. So I know the two of you have your own little rivalry going on, but
He's got this weird picture of me he keeps tossing around all over the place, but that's okay. Hey, I have plenty of pictures of Tom Kakert as well, but we'll leave those to ourselves. Hey, I appreciate it. Enjoy the night at Carver Hawkeye. And everybody can get all the information all they want when it comes to the HawkeyeReport.com. Following you on X, is that give people the information on during the night tonight and afterwards the best way to get your coverage of the game?
Yeah, those will be the best spots. We'll have a recap up, in the hours after tonight's duel, and we'll be covering it live on the ground from Carver. Last thing I just also plug is Sunday afternoon. It'll be a full day at Carver. Women's basketball has a big game that night, I think, against the Spartans. But earlier in the afternoon, starting at noon, the Hawkeye women have their final home duels of the season.
Sure.
They'll be hosting Lehigh and Otterbein on senior day in Iowa City. And it should be a pretty good matchup between the Hawkeyes and Lehigh, who like Iowa is a name brand and on the men's wrestling side, and this is their first official varsity season as a women's program. And they've got a couple hammers in their lineup that'll definitely test a few of the Hawkeyes. So that'll be going on Sunday afternoon, starting I believe at 12 o'clock at Carver. And that'll cap a busy weekend on the mat for me in Iowa City, and then I'll hand the baton to Kyle, and he'll take over things for the evening for the women's hoops.
And all Tom Kakert will be doing is sitting on his couch watching the Bears. That's basically what his life has become. So
watching the Bears lose.
Let's hope so. This national nightmare they call Chicago Bears football has to come to an end here real soon. So Tanner, I appreciate you. We'll catch up soon. Be good.
Thanks.
All right, that is Tanner Lafever with the Hawkeye Report, and obviously, like I just said, Kyle and Tanner, Blair, everybody does a fantastic. Dennis and his photography, awesome. Everybody but Tom's killing it over there at the Hawkeye Report. So we got more to get to. You watch an OTA on a Friday. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. A busy Friday it has been, despite the fact that Twitter is giving us some hard times. I guess there was a Twitter outage nationally, or X, I'm sorry. But we're back, we're rocking and rolling, and I want to thank everybody for navigating their way and watching the show today. It was a fun show. Kyle Huesmann started things off talking about Iowa's big victory last night against Oregon. They're now 6-0 in the Big Ten, 15-2 overall. Things don't get any easier. They get Michigan State on Sunday, and then they're a stretch of 4 out of 5 games against ranked teams. But great to see Addie Deal break out, have a really good game, 18 points, 7 of 9 shooting, 4 3-pointers. And Hannah Stolke was really good, and Kylie Feuerbach was really good as well. So go check out Kyle. We also had Vincent Johnson on. Vincent recently published a book. It's an awesome book called Illustrious. It's a book with talking about the best gyms in the state of Illinois. 6 of the 8 schools in the Western Big Six are in the book. Rock Island twice because of the field house, and then of course the girls gym, the older gym. So really a cool book. He's going to be in town tonight at Wharton Fieldhouse for the Quincy Moline game. He'll be there at 5:00. Be there throughout the night. So swing by, get a book, get it signed, all of those kind of things. I'm going to sneak over and check it out as well. So great having a good conversation with him. Also, good to catch up with my doppelganger and my former partner in crime, Kory Kuffler, kind of previewing the night of high school basketball, reminiscing a little bit as well. And then, of course, Tanner Lafever talking about a big matchup tonight in wrestling when it comes to Iowa and Penn State at Carver Hawkeye Arena. It's been a really fun week. Casey Kreider, Angelo Jackson, Scott Docterman, Tom Kakert, Jake Brend, Nicholas Baer, James Zahere, Kory Kuffler. We've had a really fun week on the show. Take some time today, over the weekend, go back and check out some of the shows this week. We had a blast, and we plan on doing it once again tomorrow. Before I let you go tonight, or today I should say, Bears game this weekend. It's Bears versus the Rams, and I really have been hedging back and forth on where I'm going with this game, because common sense tells me that the Bears are going to lose and the Rams are going to win. And that's what was happening in a big time way last week. And there's something about this team that they continue to win games. So tomorrow, the first game, a 3:30 game, Buffalo and Denver at Denver. Give me Buffalo. I think Josh Allen will somehow find a way to get to the Super Bowl this year. I like Buffalo. It'll be tough on the road at Denver. Again, Denver, the 2 home teams yesterday, or I should say in the AFC, have young quarterbacks and good defenses. But give me Josh Allen in that one. Give me Seattle to beat San Francisco. I think Seattle's defense is just too good, and San Francisco has just had so many injuries, and now the latest, George Kittle, is a tough one. So tomorrow night, give me Seattle. Give me the Patriots at home early on Sunday. And then Bears 5:30 when they take on the Rams. Give me the Rams 31-27. And I think they'll lead, and they'll lead by enough. I think it'll be another comeback by the Bears, and I think the Rams will hold them off and win this football game. That's not being a Bears hater or anything like that. I have the Rams in the Super Bowl. I have Rams and Bills from a few weeks ago. That's my thought And so I'm going to stick with that. But if the Bears get down big early, invest in the Bears. It paid big dividends for me last weekend. It probably would do so again this weekend as well. We'll wrap up the Bears and the Rams game on Monday. The Iowa Michigan State game is on Sunday. I'm hoping to get Rob Brooks to come on the show and chat with us on Monday as well. Pat Anger, we gave Pat the week off. We'll get with Pat again next week. I believe the Big Ten schedule will come out next week at some point for football next year. So we might wait on Pat till that comes out and then break it down with him, because God knows we love Pat Anger's football analysis. So all of that and much more next week. Enjoy the great weekend, and we will see you guys back here again on Monday. Have a great weekend.